What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Best Bet Show. It is your boy Matty Chucks and the always handsome, always seems like crushing on Sunday, Alex Caruso. How the hell are you? Are you ready for week 8? What's going on?
Oh man, I'm so beyond excited. How can you not when there's another day of NFL Sundays and we got NBA, NHL, NFL? Like there is just nonstop goodness. But obviously, football is the thing that all brings us together and all allows us to have an excuse to not get off the couch for 11 hours. So could not be more excited for today.
Absolutely. And there's some good games on this week. I am honestly looking forward to a couple of them. Packers Vikings is always a good one. Patriots Dolphins, I hope, is close. Eagles Commanders, a lot of divisional games. And then I love the Chiefs Broncos because I always just target Pacheco and McKinnon against the Broncos. But are there any games that you're looking forward to watching, or are you just as strictly, these are my props? I'm watching these guys.
No, I mean, I'm excited to see how the Patriots do. I mean, the Patriots just took down the Bills last week. Maybe they continue that momentum against the Dolphins for a little bit of a revenge game. I think that I'm excited to see Eagles Commanders to see if this Eagles team can continue rolling the way it has. And then I mean, I don't know, maybe just call me lame, but I'm excited for Tyson Bagent to play on Sunday Night Football. I don't know. He won his first start. They're playing the Chargers, who are notorious chokers. Like I think that game has some hidden primetime potential.
I hope so because we all deserve it. It'd be good for him. I mean, that'd make the quarterback room a little. I mean, they're not going to move on from Fields, but it would make the quarterback room a little interesting. And I like rooting for guys like that. It's
Yeah.
true. I like seeing guys who come in and just take over. Not that he's going to be taking over in most of the ways, but if they can find ways to win, it's always fun to watch. And on primetime games, you got to give us something. If he goes out there and just lays a goose egg, it's just the primetime curse at it again. Do you want to? I know you posted your card today. Do you want to talk about a few of those plays and why you like them a little bit?
Totally. Well, I'd like to start with my play of the day. That is Nico Collins over 58 and a half receiving yards. Like every part in the book points to this being a nasty play today. First of all, the Panthers are second worst versus outside wide receivers, where Collins plays 80% of his snaps. He has a elite 3.6 yards per route run versus zone coverage, with the Panthers run over 80% of the time. The Panthers also run a top 10 rate of single high, which Nico Collins is a 5.2 yards per route run against, which literally would make him like the greatest wide receiver of all time versus that coverage. And they run it the majority of their time. If you're still not convinced, the Panthers pressure at the lowest rate in the NFL. And when you look at just efficiency when not pressured, CJ Stroud's fantasy points per dropback double, and Nico Collins' yards per route run also ranks the greatest of all time when they're not pressured. He is going to be unbelievable today.
I'm excited.
Oh, I think we just lost Chucks. Well,
We're good.
There
We're
we
good.
go.
We're good. I was so excited to place the bet that I literally clicked the wrong button. I got out of here. I might ladder. Is that a ladder potential play?
I'm laddering for sure. I would ladder all the way up to 100 yards. I wouldn't be putting significant units because there's always a chance that something busts.
Yeah.
But he has been unbelievable, especially in the even weeks 2, 4, and 6. Not really statistical analysis. Everything in the book is pointing to a really big game from him, especially in a perfect matchup for not only him, but his quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. And I think looking at numbers, especially young quarterbacks on when they're being pressured or not, are big indicators on how they'll perform. So the fact that you could find a stat like that to make your play even better is just icing on the cake for me. So I love it. I saw you post about it earlier, but hearing you talk about it definitely gives it a little more. I don't know what the word is, but it builds more trust than just reading up.
Just gets me fired up just talking about it. I can feel it today. Hopefully he's going to be either the biggest letdown of all time or it's going to be the greatest triumph of our capping careers.
And that's why we love sports betting. That's usually what happens. I personally, I didn't post this on Twitter yet, but I'm going to. I'll just say it here now for people that are in here. I'm playing Kirk Cousins over 1.5 passing touchdowns. And it's because it's it's two strong sides. One of them's got to give. Kirk Cousins got it in 6 of 7 games this season. Straight up passing offense. It's Kirk Cousins, the Vikings, even without Justin Jefferson, still has wide receivers. TJ Hawkinson, in the red zone is huge for him. And honestly, the main reason why is that Alexander Madison has 0 rushing touchdowns, and the Vikings team as a whole this season have 0 rushing touchdowns. They have more defensive touchdowns than rushing touchdowns, which is just ridiculous. The fact that it's week 8 and your running back or backup or third string has no rushing touchdowns. To me, that just shows me that we knew they were a pass heavy offense, but we didn't know to that extent. The Packers on the other end have never allowed a quarterback to get 2+ passing touchdowns. But the reason for me in that situation is that they've played guys like Desmond Ridder, Jimmy G, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, guys who really aren't playing the quarterback position as well as Kirk Cousins is. Whether you hate Kirk Cousins or not, he's a good quarterback. There's 2 that they have faced that I think are similar to Kirk Cousins volume-wise, and that's Jared Goff and Derek Carr. Jared Goff had 1 touchdown, but David Montgomery had 3 touchdowns that game. And going by the Vikings style of play, I don't think their running backs going to have 3 touchdowns today because they literally have not scored a single touchdown all year. And then Derek Carr, offense is a little weird. The Saints are a little weird. Choked a couple times. He had 1 touchdown, and then they had Rashid Shaheed had a punt return touchdown. So they still had 2 touchdowns. The Packers have given up 2+ touchdowns every week, just not 1 to 2+ passing touchdowns. And every other team they've played have had better running games and worse passing games than the Vikings. To me, I think that's the only reason why we're getting this number on Kirk Cousins is because of what the Packers have done. When you look about it, they're not playing guys like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, guys that always hit this number. So to me, I think I have a good edge here. And -115 on MGM, I can't pass it up.
Yeah, I don't think you can pass it up either. I think that's a really interesting spot. And especially when, again, something has to give. I don't think you're wrong there. I might take it myself. I know you've been excited about it all week.
Yeah, I was pretty pumped about it, not gonna lie. Another one we could talk about, you posted it already. I'm about to post it. I think I'm gonna give in, is Christian Kirk. Honestly, he was huge for us a few weeks ago against the Saints. Was that last week? I forget.
Yeah, he was last week. It was Thursday night. That's why it seems so long ago.
Yeah. And we take we take him versus these coverages. He got 6 catches on 6 targets against the Saints, but that game was weird, honestly. I think he'll get a lot more targets this week, which I think will lead to more. I mean, his targets versus teams with similar coverages were over 10+. I think 5.5 is a great number here against the Steelers, who honestly make teams pass the ball all the time, and they're not very good at it, at defending the wide receiver position. So I don't know why they do it, but Mike Tomlin knows what he's doing, and their defense is still obviously very, very, very good. So obviously it's working out. They're willing to give receptions up, but they're not going to give a bunch of touchdowns up. You want to add a little to that?
Yeah, I think that he's a perfect play this week, especially because of his totals against high man coverage teams. He's played 3 teams in the top 10 of man coverage, the Chiefs, the Falcons, and the Saints. And he had 14, 12, and 6 receptions against those teams. He's also been great in every single game against yardage. And he's also going to avoid Joey Porter, who is by far the Steelers' best corner. And he only plays 1% of his snaps in the slot. Christian Kirk plays there about 70% of the time. It's largely going to be Calvin Ridley and Tim Jones, the outside wide receivers, playing against him. And he is going to get the best matchup of the defense in the slot. He is a coverage that he dominates in man coverage, and he's been unbelievable all year when playing this. So I think this is a prime spot for him, especially when I got him at only 4.5 receptions. I think it was -120, and that is a hammer of the day, all day, every day.
That's unbelievable. Not gonna lie. He's a reception fiend. They have a lot of killers on that team. Evan Ingram as well, who can, he can vulture some receptions, but not enough, I think, to pivot from this. Calvin Ridley is hit or miss, but he's only hitting in certain coverages. And I think if you have the coverages down that you think he'll thrive in, I think that's a spot on play. Let's talk about the Commanders-Eagles game. I know you're thinking about playing something on the Eagles. You may not pull the trigger. I'm in the same boat. I may play Jake Elliott field goals, or I may play AJ Brown, either longest reception or receiving yards. Anything under 100 seems like free chicken right now. The Commanders' defense is literally Swiss cheese. Jake Elliott had 4 field goals against him last time they played. The Eagles should move the ball. If Hurts is really hurt, then I think the Eagles may have to settle for some field goals if he can't, run on that 3rd and 6 and stretch it inside the goal line to make it, 1st and goal at the 8, as what he's so good at doing. Then, they may settle for some field goals, maybe some chip shots, or maybe even some long fields, because they can still move the ball with AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and it's kind of like a pick your poison. Where are you leaning in this game, and what are your thoughts?
It's really tough because, like, on one hand, you see Devontae Smith at a line under 50 yards, and you're like, how do I not play that? And then you look at AJ Brown. I mean, his line right now is 88 and a half yards, which seems like way more, but he hasn't been under 125 yards in the last 5 weeks. So, I mean, like, his line is so much lower than numbers he's putting up. Obviously, it's not apples to apples, but he just put up 175 yards against the Commanders. And I went back myself and did a little bit of research. And outside of week 1 and week 7, the other 5 games that they played this year, the Commanders, they gave up at least 110 yards to one wide receiver every game. Like, it hasn't mattered. Even when they took, I thought it was just an Emmanuel Forbes problem, who is by far their worst corner. But even when they took him out, they still gave up 125 yards to Drake London. So I think that this is a smash spot for both Eagles wide receivers. I think I'm going to go A.J. Brown because of how hot he's been and how far below the line is compared to what he's been putting up. And I think it's just, you have to keep riding him until the brakes fall off. And this is the perfect matchup to continue after he had his best game again in the season against him.
Yeah, and it seems like the way that the Eagles are playing offensively, Devontae Smith will catch a long, 20, 30 yarder, like maybe twice a game, but it seems like the targets and the way Jalen Hurts' eyes are going is AJ
Yeah.
Brown. And I wonder if there's added, not stress, but forced throws, or like, hey, this guy's on a historical run right now. Like, we have to make sure, like, or do our best in the game script to make sure he's keep going on the streak, because I don't know what the streak is for 100 plus receiving yard games in a row.
You just set the record.
Yeah.
Well, can I add in one thing on AJ Brown that I think I'm going to take him over Devontae Smith in this game? Is that I was reading this morning that this year the Commanders have allowed the 2nd or 3rd highest rate of first read targets. So whoever the first read is,
Wow.
the ball has gone to them on 73% of the Commander snaps this year. And AJ Brown has been far and away the number 1 guy in first read target share for them. So that would say to me that more likely than not, I still would be playing him in this game, especially if, over 75% of those, snaps are going to the first read, which is almost always going to be AJ Brown.
Yeah. Do we know what the weather's like in that game before we
Doesn't seem like there's any worry about it that I could find this morning.
That's great news. I may take 2 plays in this game. I may take Elliott, and I may take, I see 5-mile-an-hour winds and a chance of rain, which is like absolutely nothing. To me, it's like AJ Brown, they're going to keep feeding if they can. This is the perfect game. It's like the game you want after you set your record to keep it going. Like this is just the team. And his longest reception is 29.5 or 28.5, which means if they assume he's going to get 130 yarder, and his reception line is 5 catches for, what does he need, 50-ish, 60 yards. That seems so doable if he gets that longest reception. I think it's got to be the case. His 5.5 receptions is too juice to play. You might as well take his yards, because he could take a 60-yarder to the crib. I mean, he's just been on one of those tears, and I think a touchdown is probably a decent spot too, especially if Hurts is a little banged up. Any questions from you guys in the chat? We'd love to answer them before we leave. Or is there any game you want us to talk about? I know Alex is a very busy day. Sundays are usually pretty busy for us, so we want to make sure we can drop some knowledge for you guys, but also get back into providing more content for you guys as well. So I know it's a little delay, so we'll give a second to, I guess, let questions roll if there are. I know people just woke up too, so their eye crusties. We probably look a lot more handsome than we actually are. That could be the case. The one game I'm interested in looking at, by the way, and I want to bring it up before we go, is the Bengals and 49ers. I don't know if I'm off the Bengals suck. I don't know if I'm like, if the Bengals still suck or not. Like, they're not terrible. The record's terrible, but they're still a good team. And the Niners, obviously Purdy, I don't know how he's playing this week, if we're being honest. But they haven't looked as sharp, obviously, with no Debo. And are we expecting a bounce back 49ers week, or do you think the Bengals can take this game?
It's just a weird game. I mean, Sam Darnold's could be starting for this team. I think it's probably going to be Brock Purdy, but with that whole concussion thing, I think it's just a weird week. Outside of Christian McCaffrey, there's not a lot that I'm super confident in. With the Bengals struggles, with the weird week at quarterback for the 49ers, I think there's just too much that's like going on for me to take a really strong stance in this game when there's not a lot of normal stuff coming on.
Yeah. This is an official show plays. We could play AJ Brown receiving yards. I'm
Yeah.
probably gonna post it anyway, but I think we talked about it before we came on the show. I think that's a solid play. I see. Let me see if I can find the right line. I think I saw an 88 and a half.
Yeah, 88 and a half. I mean, I think it's minus 118 on underdog.
I see 88 and a half minus 115 on DK. So 88 and a half minus 115 is going to be the play. Don't know if I want to put it on a banner or not. I guess I can. AJ Brown over 88.5. Boom. Right there. It's minus 115 on a lot of books. So I didn't really put whichever one, whether you're playing on anything you want. This guy said, how do you feel about Brees Hall? I'm
He's
assuming
one of my official plays this week. I can't get enough Brees Hall this week. I mean, he's been top 5 in almost every efficiency metric. With the extra bye week, he should be pretty much at 100% full health. The Jets are somehow actually favored in this game, and generally running backs fantasy points per game are much higher when favored versus in losing game scripts, which means a lot of rushing for Brees Hall. He is one of the highest rates of runs of 10 plus yards in the league, one of the highest yards per after contact. And the Giants have actually had the single worst yards adjusted before contact rush defense in the NFL, which means they're not getting to the ball carriers very quickly at all. I think this is a big explosion week potentially for Brees Hall.
Yeah, and the rushing yards, the Giants allow the second most rushing yards as a whole in the season. I'm a Giants fan. I think the Jets should be favored by 6. I'm not gonna lie. I think the Jets absolutely roll us. I think the Jets are a lot better than people think. Their defense is unbelievable. I don't think Tyrod Taylor or anyone on the team is carving up the Jets defense. I think they can get a turnover or two for some short field position. And I also think Brees Hall should have a line indicative of a 6.5, 7 point spread, in my opinion. I think that's the way the game's going, which is obviously good for you if you like him. I don't know what you like of Brees Hall, but I like it.
Rushing yards all day. I took him over 70 and a half was my official play. I don't know if the line's risen, but I think that's definitely the play this week. Every running back that has had at least 14 carries against the Giants hit 70 plus yards. I think Brees Hall's line is at 16 rush attempts now, which means he's got a pretty good chance to hit that 14 mark, and he's probably the best running back to play them all year.
Listen, like when you say stuff about the Giants, it sounds personal. Every other team, I get it, you're spitting facts, but the Giants, it seems a little personal. My buddy Joe Delaire, Giants today will be Max Payne. You're 100% right, buddy. Thanks for stopping by. Josh Walker said Cousins over 1.5 passing TDs an official play. On my Twitter, it is. I think Alex is going to wait to see the magic happen. But I'm going to post it I already sent it to the Dub Club. I just didn't post it on Twitter yet. So it's already in the queue to be posted. So it is an official play for me. And that should be it. This guy, okay, last one. Lay the juice on Elliott over 2.5. I'm assuming that means receptions.
Yeah.
Jake Elliott? No, Ezekiel Elliott, 2.5 receptions. Yeah, it's got to be. Jake Elliott's going to be 1.5.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't lay the juice on it. I just don't want to trust Zeke. I think Ramondre started to come into his own back-to-back weeks with a season high in targets, both with 6. I think he's their guy more and more, and I think he started to show the juice that we've been waiting for early in the season.
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree. This best tight end pick for today. This guy's obsessed with tight ends.
I don't think I got one.
For what? Yards? For touchdown?
Jake Ferguson would be my go-to. He's got a great matchup. The Rams have been really good on defense in a lot of areas. Tight end's been by far their worst metric. So maybe not a touchdown, but as far as yards, targets go, Jake Ferguson's been underrated.
I'd probably say Hawkinson for me if you're going to pick a guy. I'm on the Kirk Cousins passing touchdown train. No Jefferson. Hawkinson's the go-to guy. I know the Packers are pretty stout defensively, but he's almost forced to go nowhere else. I think in the red zone, that's going to be his main guy if he's there. That's it for today. We got to let Alex go, and I got to get going too. Appreciate you guys coming in. Best of luck on your bets today. Stay tuned for Alex's plays. Subscribe to his newsletter. It's in the description below. Follow us both on Twitter. You'll see all of our later plays / parlays or whatever we're doing, promos. So best of luck. Go order those wings, order the pizza, whatever you eat. And we'll catch you guys next time on the Best Bet Show. Best of luck.
Peace.